We're going to move on to the next, which is now it is the CCF.
Commissioner, good afternoon. It's been a long day, and so I'm going to try to make my questions very brief.
Thank you.
My name is Sujit Choudhry. I am counsel for the CCF.
Thank you.
And so I'd first like to begin by confirming some testimony you provided this morning while being examined by my friend, Monsieur Brosseau. And I believe you said the following: if the request came under the Police Services Act to take over policing in Ottawa, the OPP would have been absolutely willing to move forward and fulfill our responsibilities. Did you say that, or words to that effect?
Words to that effect. We would have had to assess the request and our capabilities, but the willingness would have been there.
Okay. So I'd like to ask you some questions about the legal mechanics whereby that would have occurred. And so if I could ask the clerk to please turn up Commissioner Carrique's witness interview summary, which is WTS 6039. And if you could go to page 3, please. And I'd like to, if you could just scroll up a little bit more, that's great. So Commissioner Carrique, I'd like to take you to the paragraph that begins, "There are a limited number of ways."
Yes.
And so would you agree that in that paragraph you state that there are 3 ways in which the OPP could have taken over policing in Ottawa? One is by the Ontario Civilian Police Commission to direct it to do so. The second is on the request of the Crown Attorney, and the third is on a request from the Police Services Board of the Chief of Police.
Yeah, so really there's the 4, because you could get a request from the board, or you could get a request from the Chief of Police. And as it relates to the Crown Attorney, that is normally specific to a very specific investigation or incident.
Good. So I'd like to focus on the first of those mechanisms, if we may. So could we please call up CCF, and I think it's 6011. And I'd like to go to page 15. This is the Police Services Act, sir, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes.
So if we could go to page 15, please. So this is section 9 that we've spent a bit of time on today. What I'd like to take you to is subsection 2. And would you agree that subsection 2 says that if the commission were to find that the OPS was not providing adequate and effective police services, it would have first communicated this finding to the OPS board and directed the OPS board to take necessary measures?
Yes.
And then after that, subsection 3 provides if the board does not comply with the direction, the commission may request that the commissioner have the OPP give assistance.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And the word assistance isn't defined in this statute. Would you agree?
I would agree. I don't know anywhere where assistance is defined.
Well, that's an interesting question. But in this statute, it's not. But you are interpreting assistance to include a takeover. Is that right?
It could. So normally OCPC would provide direction in circumstances like this over the administration of a police service, so they can appoint a temporary chief, they can ask the OPP to provide policing services, they can appoint an administrator. There's various forms that this can take place.
But it could include a takeover.
I wouldn't call it a takeover. It's providing the policing services in the municipality. Doesn't mean that the police service becomes defunct, but we would be relied upon to provide the services that the commission felt were not being provided.
So I'd like to talk a bit about the commission because it's a bit of a mysterious body. Could we go to page? Could we go please to section 22? So, Commissioner, on this page and the next page, we have a list of the commission's responsibilities. I'm assuming you're familiar with this provision?
Generally, that's not something that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, so I'm not intimately familiar with it, but somewhat.
And just for the sake of time, I was wondering if we could please call up CCF 6041. And so, Commissioner, this is a printout or a PDF from the pardon me, can you just go up? Regarding the Ontario Civilian Police Commission that's on the Public Appointments Secretariat website. And if you could scroll down, please. There, if you could stop there, just ask you to read to yourself how it describes the function of the agency.
Yes, thank
If
you.
you could continue to the next page, please. You can stop at the end of this top paragraph.
Yes, thank you.
So would you agree with the following, that the Commission's mandate is mainly to conduct investigations and inquiries into the conduct of chiefs of police, police officers, and members of the police service boards, and to hear appeals on police discipline?
That is a general description of their responsibilities. Yes, they're twofold. There's the adjudication piece, and then there's the investigative piece. There's the two mandates.
And would you agree that the Commission's mandate is very different than that of a municipal police board,
Of a municipal police board?
such as the OPS board? So the OPS board has responsibility for recruiting and appointing and directing a chief of police, but the Commission doesn't have that role in respect to you, does it?
No, it does not.
And the OPS board establishes objectives, priorities, and policies of the OPS, but the Commission doesn't have that role in respect of the OPP, does it?
No, it does not. And the Commission is not exclusive to the OPP. Their responsibilities are overarching over all police services in the province of Ontario.
So it's not a province-wide police board, is it?
It's not a police board, but they have province-wide authorities. There's essentially three independent oversights. There's the OIPRD, the Office of Independent Review Directorate. There's the Special Investigations Unit. And then there is the Ontario Civilian Police Commission that are defined in the Act.
And so it's correct that you wouldn't have had reason to brief the Commission on a daily basis about the Ottawa protests, would you have?
I have no interaction with the Commission on a daily basis or at predetermined intervals.
Okay, well then, let me ask you this question. So as a practical matter, under Section 9.2 and 9.3, for the Commission to exercise its power to provide direction to the OPS board and then request you to take over or assume responsibility for policing in Ottawa, if you don't interact with the Commission, and if it's not a police board, how does it make that decision? Would you have to recommend to it that it take that decision, or would the Deputy Solicitor General have to recommend to the Commission that it take that step?
That would be a question to ask of the Commission. And this is one of a number of ways that you have highlighted. So the Police Services Board can also ask for that level of assistance.
So you didn't make that recommendation to the Commission, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
And I don't make recommendations directly to the Commission.
Thank you. Commissioner, can I ask the Commissioner a couple of questions about Ontario's emergency legislation, or are we out of time?
You're not out of time as of yet, but you're working on it.
Okay. So could we quickly turn to CCF 6038, please? And so, Commissioner, I take it you're familiar with the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act?
Yes, somewhat.
Could we go to pages to the bottom of page 6, please? And so I'd like to direct you to subsection 4 at the bottom of page 6 here of section 7.02. Maybe you could scroll up just a little bit so the Commissioner can see the beginning of this. So these are emergency powers that are vested in the provincial cabinet in the event of a state of emergency. And so could we please go down to the bottom of this page, if you could stop there. Would you agree that under a provincial state of emergency, the provincial cabinet can make an order regulating or prohibiting travel or movement to, from, or within any specified area in Ontario?
Sorry, can you point me to where that's articulated?
That's Roman 2 under subsection 4, the very last line on that page.
That's what that reads.
Thank you. Could we go to the next page, please, and stop there? Could you please look at Roman 4? Would you agree that the provincial cabinet could evacuate individuals and remove personal property from any specified area in the province under a state of emergency?
I would agree with you that that's what's written here.
Yes. And so do you agree that pursuant to this statute, the provincial cabinet could have created a red zone around Parliament Hill?
That's a fairly technical question in law, as I would have had to seek legal advice on any such order. The EMCPA that we dealt with identifying critical infrastructure, which was legislation that was enacted on February the 12th that did provide very specific locations or descriptions of locations where activities were prohibited, and then gave us the tools to deal with those activities.
And would you agree that under these provisions, the the cabinet could have restricted the movement of heavy trucks into downtown Ottawa?
So that's a legal question that as a police officer, I'm not qualified to answer.
Those conclude my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the